It's beautiful. So the first step is to save the file as something. Let's just save it on the desktop as multi-layer, because we're going to make a multi-layer. And then we push Control Shift D. We're going to define the size of the figure in inches, imperial units. Let's do maximum 6.5 inches across by 2.5 inches tall. If I push 1, it zooms to 100%. If I push 2, 50%. If I push 5, it puts the entire page in the middle. So this is going to be a multi-layer with, so rectangle tool, click and drag. And then I can define the color of the fill and of the stroke by pushing Shift. Shift click is the stroke. If I want to remove the stroke, it's Shift click none. I can make the stroke change color. Amazing. So I need a substrate layer. And you can see here the layers. I'm actually going to have 3 parts, 3 sub figures. So I'm going to need letters. So I'll make a layer called letters where I'll drop letters A. And to duplicate, I push Control D, B. And F1 exits to this pointer. So if you click something and you push, if you double click something to change it and then you push F1, it sends you back to the pointer. Oops. So like I edit the text and then push F1. So actually this is all super big stuff. You can see the font size is 10. But we're zoomed into 236%. So I want to actually make it 100% so I get a sense for what it looks like in reality. What I like to do is bold the letters. Oops. 10-point font, bold. Because I don't really want the letters to show up super strong. And then I make them some kind of gray. 50% or 40% gray. That's good. So push 1, go back to 100%, and I'll make sure if I push page up when selecting these, you can see it's changing which layer it's in. So I'm going to put in the letters layer. And then I can make the letters disappear with this eyeball. See? Good. So I'm not going to worry about them for now. This is the substrate layer. If I want to put text on it, use this text thing, just click. We can call this layer 1. And then I can change the color like that. Layer 1. Good. And I like Arial, no less than 10. 10 is pretty small, so if you have the ability to make it larger, it's good. It makes it easier to read. 12 is good, but it's starting to get big, so if you're low on space, I would avoid 12. So 10 to 12 is good. And then if we want to put another layer, then I'll just push Control D for duplicate. You can see it actually, because this is an opaque layer, it went on top and it made the text sort of dark. So if I click Control Z undo, Control D, there, 2. Nice thing about Inkscape is, well, in other software too, is you can define the size here. So what I want is 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layers total. And they're really big right now, much bigger than they need to be. So the substrate can be large, and then we can just use, I don't know, 15 millimeters is seeming too big, so let's do like a third of that, right? So 5 millimeters. And I just duplicate that text layer. Good, layer 1. And we'll make the second layer larger. So let's just call it, I don't know, 10 millimeters. And this top layer can be, I don't know, let's say 15. And the cool thing is we can align them. So I select them all, click and drag, select all. Control Shift A. Control Shift A gives you this align and distribute thing. And I can distribute relative to the last selected. So this centers everything relative to the last selected. And because it was the text box, it centers everything on the text box. So you can see there, it's Control Z undo. But bam. So that's fine. And if I want to put this directly on top of this, what I'll do is I'll select this one first, this one second, and then relative to last selected, I'll align everything to the top, along bottom edges of object to the top of the edge of the anchor. And I'll just do that for all of these. So now we have a stack. And I want my upper layers to be narrower. So instead of 66, let's do 55. And then we'll align again. And we'll just make the layer colors something that's more visually distinct. And I can grab all the text boxes and I can put them within a layer here. I can raise them to the top. And so because this is gray, I might want to make the text black here so that it sticks out. Okay. So that's how I would make my layers. And I can do Control D again to duplicate. And I can, you see, Control D and Shift plus up moves it 10 pixels up. Normal arrow up and down moves it a few pixels. And then if I push Alt up and down, it moves it 1 pixel. So that's that. Now I can bring our letters back. And we can put our letters where we want them to be. Just click Shift. And these might be a little bit too faint. So what I can do is click the layer and then Control Alt to select everything in the layer and just change it to be slightly darker gray. Yeah, that's better. Now I can see it. And Control S is save. So what I want to do is I want to show that we're going to be interested in the interfaces between these layers, or show the zoom in, and we can make a box like this with a rectangle tool. And it has this snapping feature, which is kind of annoying, but it'll do it automatically. So if we want to make the stroke, which is the outline, one color, Shift plus clicking on that color, and then the fill, we want blank. So I click that X. And then we can draw lines with this curve tool. Because the letters are kind of in the way. Oops. You see if I accidentally drew these things in the wrong layer, so I need to push page down to put them into layer 1. Remove the letters, and I can duplicate this, Control D, and mirror it vertical or horizontal in there. And so this is kind of, I want it to be more like, oops, more like this. So I'm going to draw a more close-up graphic of it. So I can take these layers, and so I can go through and make this figure look much better, but I want to just show you how to save this and export it as a PNG file. You can put your letters back on, S, and now what I'll press is Control E, Control-Shift-E, export PNG image, and I'll export the area of the page, which is this whole thing. And then you can choose dots per inch, something. You can define this as whatever you want, and then you put export as, and I like to save multi-layer, the same name as the SVG with the version, resolution, and then letters to indicate that I left the letters in. So I can save another version that doesn't have the letters in if you want to put it on a slide or something without letters. And then I push export, and if we go to the desktop, we should see there. That's the thing. And it's rendering sort of weird, don't know why, doesn't really matter. But now you can take that PNG and drop it into your Word document or whatever.